Many people concerned about mass immigration into the Western world have been buoyed by Donald Trump's rhetoric since coming back into power, and he's certainly pulling no punches.
Yeah.
Sean, who would ask for open borders with people pouring in, some of whom, I won't get into it, but you can look at them and you can say, could be trouble, could be trouble. There are people coming in.
There are people with gang tattoos on.
There are people coming in with tattoos all over their face. Their entire face is covered with tattoos.
That identifies
Typically, you know he's not going to be the head of the local bank.
It's this sort of rhetoric that gets the lefty lovies absolutely screeching, although we all know none of them want to live next door to gang members with tattoos on their faces. And his rhetoric has been backed up by his second-in-command, J.D. Vance, as well.
We absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These people are vetted.
Good.
These people are vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in Oklahoma a few months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted, and many people in the media and the Democratic Party said that he was properly vetted. Clearly he wasn't. I don't want my children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted, and because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to do that either.
No, and that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here.
I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country, and I think most Americans agree with me.
I would assume they do, and I think most Brits would agree with you as well as most Europeans. The reason lefty lovies hate this sort of thing is because it's classic masculine behaviour. It's to do with the implementation of boundaries. Now, of course, boundaries can be too restrictive at times, but that doesn't mean you don't need them. Boundaries in the long run create peace, harmony and stability. This is why Trump again was right to lay down the law on Colombia, who refused a couple of repatriation flights. In response to that, he laid an emergency 25% tariff on all goods coming from Colombia into the US. He also added a travel ban and immediate visa revocation on Colombia government officials, allies and supporters, visa sanctions on all party members and family members, enhanced customs and border protection of all Colombian nationals. He also said this was just the beginning if they don't play ball, and he would lay on banking sanctions. And lo and behold, it worked. The Colombians have backed down and are now taking the repatriation flights. Now this is great to see. We have a Western leader playing hardball and getting immediate results. And this of course has led to the question, can Britain do the same? As this guy points out, Britain has given $1 billion in aid to Pakistan since 2009, and given we have grooming gang offenders with dual nationality, we could just take that money away until they decide to take these people back. Yet there are a few obstacles in the UK, the obvious one being we don't have a Donald Trump type figure, and would one get elected? Number two are the offices of state as well as the civil service and all of our law courts now so corrupted we couldn't push something like this through anyway. And finally, would there even be a taste for it in the mainstream? We've seen how woeful we are as a country in outlining the problems we face in the wake of the sentencing of the Southport killer. Kemi Badenoch put his actions down to integration, even though he was made Doctor Who in a BBC Children in Need show many years back. On top of that, we've had MPs say it's all down to knife crime or online content which is harmful. We've also had people say it's just about mental health, and now The Guardian is saying it's simply about misogyny. Each of these rationales comes from a country which is deeply ill and simply cannot tell the truth because it's stuck in ideological possession. And even the figures on the so-called right are just as lost. I explored Peter Hitchens yesterday, stating that it's down to cannabis use, and David Starkey released a video as well yesterday saying Southport was a cock-up, not a cover-up. Now Starkey and Hitchens are the sort of right-wing firebrands that seem to enjoy being a sole voice against everyone else and can never really be wrong about anything, so there's no talking sense with them. The leftists are stuck in ideological possession, so we simply can't talk about what's really going on here. We all know this is down to mass immigration and integration not working. If the liberal ideology never came here, Southport never would have happened. But as we all know now, if you criticise mass immigration or multiculturalism, you are a bad person in the eyes of the liberal regime. That's why we go with wacky solutions to these problems. Yvette Cooper is now going to push for online censorship. Of course, such a policy is not going to stop terror attacks, it's not going to stop the future Axel Ruder Cabanas, it's not going to stop our cultural or civilizational decay, but then it's not really meant to. What it's meant to do is prop up the liberal utopian ideology, as well as censor people like me and you from telling the truth. After all, we must remember that our oh-so-wise leaders aren't very happy with us at the moment because we didn't respond to the Southport stabbings like these these German leftists after a 2-year-old and a 41-year-old man were killed by an Afghan migrant in a German park.
Refugees are welcome here! Say it loud! Say it clear! Refugees are welcome here!
Good luck with that, Germany. But as you can see, the UK is a mile away from the USA at the moment with regards to remigrations and deportations. And it should be said as well that Trump is only expelling illegals at the moment. I don't know why even that gets the Liberals' knickers in a twist. Now, as I keep saying, I hate to be a party pooper, but Trump is only going to be in for 4 years and immigration may well increase under his tenure anyway. Demographics of America and Europe are going to change. But as I say, this may not be a bad thing in the long run because it may be the precursor to waking people up to the corrosive effects of modernity, thereby snapping back in to their tradition. That will lead to some sort of civilizational rebirth down the line, in my view. That's what I speak a lot about on my Substack. Do check that out down below if you're interested. Do consider subscribing to the channel if you're new.